Hey friends! If you can't tell from my luscious vacation beard, we are back on the boat for the summer and taking a little break from YouTube while we finish up our great loop. I just wanted to mention that this episode was filmed when we were celebrating 6,000 subscribers, but we've since climbed to over 8,000. So welcome aboard everybody, and thank you for joining us on this adventure. Here's the episode. So, this is the 6,000 viewer celebration video. Figured we do some question and answers and, it's kind of treat it like a podcast where we talk for about 2 hours and tell jokes that nobody else will get drunk and, have a great time. And no, that's not how we do it here. Let's just go ahead and dive on in.
I'm amazed we got 6,000 people to follow us.
Yeah, right. Think that
wow, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty good. Yeah, thank you guys so much for your interest in our travels and all the nice comments too, because we put out the call for questions and immediately got a handful of people who just gave us more compliments, which is really nice. So thank you guys so much for your interest and following us on this journey. First question was from David JHoda141620, who's a frequent commenter. He says, what is your ideal timeline to complete the loop? Perhaps I'm confused, but are you doing the loop in reverse? What's your ideal overall plan? Well, you're confused because we made it confusing. That's really what it is. We started the loop in September of 2023, pretty much stayed on the boat for an entire year. And then once we parked it in New York, then we started putting the videos out. So whereas the videos right now are starting basically from the beginning in real life, next week we're heading back out to the boat in New York and continue on with the Canadian portion. So we're not doing it in reverse, we're doing it the normal direction. We're just really slow in getting YouTube videos out.
It's a lot of work to make these videos, and Jason just puts in so much time and effort to make them like something he's really proud of. And so that's why you're seeing them so delayed.
Next question is from Doug Ailes, USA. Ailes being an extremely good last name for someone who follows a boat called Hobby Trails. We might see him in Canada this summer, which would be very cool. He wishes we published content more frequently, which we both do, and would like to see more problems, issues, and challenges that we face along the way. And that's funny that he brings that up because we just had a discussion about that not too long ago.
Yeah, so in making the videos, it's a balance of how much do you show of your daily life? Is this a daily vlog kind of situation? Or is it more of a summary of a huge portion, geographic portion and a long period of time? So I think we don't show a lot of those day-to-day struggles just because it doesn't serve the story well, or it doesn't move the story along very well.
Yeah. We're kind of at a balance of do we show the things that we do? Doing the loop every day is kind of a new adventure and you're seeing things in quick succession versus do we spend more time on our personal stuff? And there's totally a place for the personal stuff, and that would probably, get more attention in terms of just getting to know us as people. But when you're doing so many things in a row, I feel like a lot more people will get more value out of the videos by seeing, the things that we do on the loop versus just the struggles that we have. That being said, as far as the YouTube videos are concerned, we're still going down the river system, which is very familiar to us. And so there's not a whole lot of issues that have arisen yet.
You've only seen the first leg of our journey, which was really only about a month and a half worth of time. And we're not totally novice boaters either. We're not expert or anything. But the river system, like Jason said, is really familiar to us. We've done locks before. I know that's something that freaks people out, but that's not something that was new to us. So the struggles will come when we get to the ocean and to saltwater, because that's not familiar to us at all. And
I totally take your point, Doug, and I appreciate the input. And we'll do our best to kind of incorporate that more. And I know I've had a few times where I'm doing something where it's the bow thruster went out and I'm, heels over head in the bow trying to get that thing. I was like, oh, I should probably be recording that right now because this is actually something interesting. So it's tough to pull out a camera when you're in the middle of it. And also, a lot of what we're dealing with is toddler tantrum stuff.
Right. How much do you want to see of
how
that?
much screaming and yelling do you want to see? I know I'd like to see a whole lot less. And so,
yeah.
so we're saving you from that. And that's, in terms of emotional hardship, that was a big part of it up to this point. So next one is from Mr. Harriman 22. He says, how do you afford this lifestyle? Financially and flexibility, Ranger tugs aren't cheap. Well, poor investment choices are a great way to afford this lifestyle.
You know what they say about a boat.
Exactly. So it's a fair question. I'm a pilot, so I can go to work from wherever we end up. And, the paycheck's not bad too. And so we are also still in our first house. And we bought this 12 years ago and we locked in a low rate and we were saving up for a nicer house. And then we decided during COVID that we actually wanted to spend more time traveling and do the big boat thing earlier than later. And so again, poor investment choice perhaps going forward.
Or it's strategic.
Right?
Financial planning to achieve our YouTube channel, to achieve our dreams. Yeah. And then an opportunity came along for me to kind of take a break from my day-to-day job, which is I'm a middle school librarian. And so I went on a sabbatical leave for a year and also at the same time was completing a certificate program through University of Massachusetts, which amazingly was all online. So I could work from anywhere, and we chose to do that from the boat on the loop. Mm-hmm. So that's where the flexibility comes from.
And then, you could do it way cheaper than on a Ranger tug. That is certainly a pricier way to go about it. But I don't know, we won't go into the whole story about why we chose that boat and how we got started in the loop today. But it kind of came down to, can I sell this idea with a cute boat? And so when I saw a Ranger tug, I was like, wow, that's a good looking boat. I think I can sell this. And it is super utilitarian. It's really well set out for a family our size who doesn't want to deal with a really large boat, and is really flexible in terms of what it can do.
That's what I was going to say, is that the type of boat just made a lot of sense for the type of boating that we saw ourselves doing in the next 10 plus years. And it makes sense for a family. Like, it's just been a really amazing boat. And I think it was a good choice for us.
And I'm a big DIY guy. I want to go and do most of the repair myself if I can. So having the boat on a trailer is really convenient. Drink break. We are enjoying a local brew from Black Stack Brewing, which is one of our favorite IPA breweries in the area, and highly recommended if you find yourself in St. Paul, Minnesota. Stop at Black Stack. It's a cool place.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, but they will get my support any day.
You'd like to sponsor us, Black Stack.
NIN 34, which I'm wondering if that's 9 Inch Nails.
That was my first thought as a millennial.
I know. I was like, a 9 Inch Nails fan is watching our videos, but then we like metal too, so maybe that's not so weird. But anyway, he said, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this. In fact, I know I'm going to, because when I say it, it's, you should visit Baie Fine. And I'm like, well, I hang out with a Baie Fine every day. What I'm saying.
Wow.
No, I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Baie Fin, or that's how us Americans botch it up. And it's like the scenic fjord in Georgian Bay, which looks like it's going to be really pretty. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Thank you for the suggestion. We'll do it. Yeah, it sounds awesome.
We'll learn how to pronounce it.
David McKee, 1277 says, are you nervous about the Gulf or Atlantic side of the trip? That's another thing where it's kind of weird that we're doing this video Q&A now when we've already done it, right? So.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, are you nervous? The answer is yes. I am the nervous one when it comes to boating. And I grew up in Minnesota, and so ocean stuff to me is not in my wheelhouse. I don't have any background knowledge, and I was super, super nervous about it. So yes, most of the time, nervous. Yes.
Well, now we have done it in real life.
Still nervous.
And if we want to do it again, there would definitely be nerves involved.
I think most people's anxieties, especially if you're not a coastal person, is going to be the Gulf crossing, and it's going to be the Atlantic portions, because it's not your kind of boating that you're doing on a flat water lake, beautiful sunshiny summer day. So I think that was definitely on my mind all the time.
Your best bet is just to, prepare yourself and do as much learning as you can about weather resources, looking at multiple different resources, talking to people who have done it. There's plenty of them. And, getting yourself as familiar as possible with what your comfort level is and what's reasonable. It's always okay to stay another day. You're probably going to push it someday. and see what your limit is.
I think it was Diane from Beachside that we met. She kind of said, if you're not on the same page with your partner about the weather, just wait. Just wait. It's not worth it to go. And then when the weather is good, then you can go.
Yeah. If you're traveling with a partner, that's a great kind of motto, is like anybody's got veto power. And so if one person says, I don't like this, it's a good reason to stop for sure, for the health of your relationship.
Well, and I will say that I just run on higher anxiety than most people. So like for me, my threshold is probably really different than most people who are going to take on this adventure. But I never once felt like, we couldn't do it. Like I knew that Jason had put in a lot of time and effort in researching and like looking at the weather and learning about the weather and learning all these different resources so that we could have a safe journey. I always felt like it's something we for sure can do. It was just my own level of my own abilities, my own capabilities that I think.
Nobody goes into it feeling easy. And if you do, that's probably a bad sign, right? Even if you've done it a few times before, I think it's healthy if you go into a golf crossing experience with some trepidation and really checking the weather.
And respecting Mother Nature and just knowing that conditions can change really quickly.
Captain Sully says he likes our dog.
I like Captain Sully too.
If you're not familiar with Sully Does the Loop, he's a Facebook group. He's a cute little terrier who...
He's a Facebook group.
Yeah, he's got a Facebook group.
Oh, he's a group.
Yeah, he's got a Facebook group. He's
know.
got hundreds of followers. He's the cutest little terrier.
He's adorable.
I think he was 14 years old when we met him. And they just got a really good community on there. He travels in luxury and speed on a Krogan Express. There's a beautiful boat. And his humans are pretty good people too. So we had a couple really fun outings with them. So go check it out.
And Guthrie enjoyed Sully too, because they ran all around and you would not believe that dog was 14 years old.
Right. He has a lot of spunk for his age. Somebody asked, do you use a bridle when anchoring? And we do most of the time. A bridle is kind of like a backup line. Usually your anchor goes down the front of the bow, and then you've got two other lines coming off your cleats on the side to hold it in place, taking a lot of the strain off of your windlass. And so Ranger tugs tend to move a lot in the wind. And so when it moves off to the side, your anchor line is going to come off your bow roller and it's going to thunk. And then you're going to blow to the other side and it's going to thunk again. So we use a bridle mostly to keep that from happening and to keep it nice and quiet while we're trying to sleep. Christina reached out on Instagram, said, I'm curious about life with a toddler on a boat. You show some stuff, but maybe a short just about that for us parents. I feel like it would be a nightmare keeping them safe and entertained.
Yes. This was on my mind before we even decided to buy our boat and do the loop, because we had a previous boat, and being a new parent and you're just worried all the time. If you're me, you're extra worried all the time. So that was my number one issue that we needed to face in doing this, is how are we going to keep her safe? We know that little kids climb everything and are into everything. And by the time we were doing this, she would be walking and she'd be climbing and she'd be doing all this stuff. We're very mindful about that. And we knew that that was a very high priority. So every interaction, every moment that we could to teach her about boat safety, we capitalized on that. And it was a non-negotiable. You have to wear a life jacket when you're out in the cockpit. We also wore our life jackets to model that behavior. So we were just really cognizant about that all the time. I know that's a fear that a lot of parents have. We kind of settled into a daily routine over time just because we had to. We had to have, strict snack time, and we had to have some table time play, and had to come up with different activities to keep her entertained because we were just on this small boat for an entire day traveling. That was one of the greater challenges, I think.
Mm-hmm. Morgan did a really nice job at coming up with a variety of activities to keep Willow entertained, and it really took an extreme amount of energy to make it happen. Kind of my full-time job was operating the boat, and Morgan's full-time job was keeping the kid entertained and fed and educated and all that kind of stuff. So it's a big undertaking and it takes a lot of effort, but it's not a bad idea what you suggested about putting together some sort of video about the things we did. And I'm not sure if we've got enough to do it on what we've made so far, but we'll make an effort on the next leg to put together a little something about how we keep her entertained.
So we're not huge on screen time. We do use it, and we do allow her to watch videos or play games and be on the iPad, but we were pretty adamant that we didn't want the entire time to be on the iPad because we know that's not healthy for children. So there are times where we blessedly use the iPad to like just get a break.
Mind your mental health too, because if you make yourself crazy trying to keep your kid nourished without an iPad or any screen time, and you go insane doing it, then that's not doing anybody a favor. So
I think routines are key. As an educator, must tell you that routines and transitions are like a huge part of your day. So you have to prioritize those things.
On Baie 58 asked, has cruising ruined land life for you? Yes. Next question. I don't know if we need to expound. I mean, man, if it was up to me, we would sell the house and move on to a boat tomorrow.
Well, I don't know. We still appreciate land life in a lot of ways. But coming back, I shouldn't compare it to people who do the Appalachian Trail because that's really not the same thing. You know, I didn't do some physical journey of thousands of miles, but a lot of what those hikers experience after they get back is that life just isn't as rich. It isn't as, vibrant, and things are just boring in a way. And I kind of felt that coming back too.
Yeah, you get back into a routine that maybe you're not jazzed about, but it's kind of the most convenient thing.
Yeah, so I think land life is ruined in a way, but it also has been appreciated in different ways.
Yeah.
I really appreciate my dishwasher. The conveniences of home, the space has been really nice.
Yeah.
But
I like a big TV and big speakers, so that's nice.
But, sometimes life feels a little lackluster because every day was different. Every day was an adventure. Every day was problem solving, and you felt like you were actually doing something and making progress and growing in ways that you didn't anticipate, and coming back to the life you had before when you are a changed person. That was kind of a hard transition, especially for me.
John Marshlock, 1977, says, now that you've used it for a while, how do you like the electric dinghy motor? Love it. It's really great.
It's awesome.
It's quiet. It's clean. It gets plenty far. You're not going to get up on plane. It doesn't go fast. We pretty much set it to a maximum of like 50% power because anything more just doesn't go much faster. But no oil changes. Don't have to find gas. Just charge it up either when underway or when you're plugged in at the dock. And it's fantastic. We've had a few minor issues in terms of with the salt water, there's a little bit of corrosion on some of the contacts between the battery and the motor. And it's kind of getting to be a little bit of a loose connection. But that's nothing that I can't fix. So yeah, highly recommend it. You can't get anywhere in a that's not what we're there for. All right, we had a couple of anonymous questions. How do you lock using a single line to the bollard without having to stand on the narrow deck near the midship cleat? Your midship cleat is at the side of the cabin, but I typically see you standing at the front of the cockpit holding the line. Also, has the side door been helpful for locking and docking? I'll answer that second one first. Yes, the side door is awesome. I don't know how people live without it. The Ranger Tug 29s don't have the side door, and so I guess they have to just run around to the side if they're going to go lock or dock or something like that. But having that side door there is just so great. You know, when you're underway, you can slide it open, and the fresh breeze comes through. When we go to a dock, especially if it's like challenging conditions, I can hop out real quick or toss a line just out the door and catch a cleat or something like that. And then locking is great. So yeah, I love the side door. To answer your first question about going through locks, it kind of depends on what kind of system the lock has set up. And so for a lot of the locks we went through in the beginning of the trip, they would just pass a line down to you from the rail above. And so in those cases, you'll see me sitting on the front and Morgan will be in the cockpit and back, and they'll just pass down a line and you hold on to it and let it out as you drop or take it in as you climb. And that seems to work out pretty well. On the floating bollard docks, we tried a few different things. What we ended up doing was we would pull up next to the lock wall. I would kind of hop out and inch along the side there and then just wrap the line around the bollard from the middle cleat. As you said, there's no easy way to get to it, so you just got to hold on tight. And then we wouldn't tie off on the cleat, but just kind of wrap it around one time, and then I'd pass it back to Morgan. And so if something starts going wrong, if the bollard gets stuck or something like that, she can easily whip the line and get it off the cleat, and then we would be free. So that's the best solution we found so far. There might be a better way to do it, but it's working okay for us so far. It seems to hold the boat pretty stable where it needs to be. Last question. Would you ever want to make a maintenance video? Saw the latest video and you high level spoke about it. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I've considered making some kind of how to change the oil in your Volvo D4. I don't know, there's a whole lot of interest in that, but somebody out there is probably like, I need to do an oil change. How the heck do I do it? So, but for the most part, our maintenance program is pretty basic. Just change the engine oil and the transmission oil every 200 hours. It's not real special, but if anything more exciting comes up, I'll make sure to include it on the videos. Thanks for the suggestion. Oh, there was one more. Our good friend JPat says, what has been the hardest aspect of taking on this endeavor, and what's the most rewarding outcome? And that's a pretty high level question, JPat. That's more of the trip's over and looking back on it, I think. But do you have any answers to that off the top of your head?
I think the hardest aspect for me was going into the unknown. Like, there's so many unknowns for this journey. Like, first of all, just coming to the conclusion that, yeah, we can put our life on hold and then go do this thing for a whole year and live in a small space with each other with a toddler and a dog. Like, I often wondered, what am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? Is this crazy? Like, a lot of people would look at me like, you're doing what now? So, like, I think that was maybe the most challenging thing, was to arrive at the conclusion that we should do this. But now, having done a huge portion of it, I'd say I am so glad we did.
I think for me, the hardest aspect was probably the fact that we had a toddler along with us. That was a major consideration. You know, just Morgan and I can communicate pretty well in terms of what we need, what we want, how we're doing, things like that. But a 3-year-old has her own entire agenda, and she's not always able to communicate exactly what she wants when she wants it in a way that we understand and can work with. So, especially at the age of 3, there was a lot of consternation on all parts, probably. Hers was a little louder than ours, but that was a hard thing. That was a hard thing to do.
And I would add, I think I went through a lot of turmoil thinking, you know, is this the right choice to be making as a parent? To be putting her through this, to have her sitting on a boat, you know, for 9 hours straight, not being able to run around, not being in a daycare situation, you know, taking her away from a very routine life. That was a hard decision, but I think it's made her a really interesting kid, and
yeah, absolutely,
has shaped her life in ways that we are yet to discover.
We'll find out. Yeah. Any thoughts on what the most rewarding thing is, or was that kind of the same thing?
It's kind of bookends for me. Like, it was hard to jump and do that thing, but now that we're like 2/3 along on that thing, I just want to keep doing the thing.
Being able to watch our daughter grow, like if we had just stayed home, then Morgan would be working, I would be working, Willow would be at daycare, and so I would have missed so many moments that we got to see along the way. Because we were spending so much time together. So, yeah, I mean, that was extremely rewarding too.
Amazing family moments. We've created memories for a lifetime. So,
yeah, absolutely. I think we should do a version, though, that's not kid-centric, just because so many of our viewers will not be concerned about that.
That's true.
Let's try that same question. What is the hardest aspect of taking on the Great Loop, and what is the most rewarding outcome?
You go first, because my answer is remarkably similar.
Yeah. Well, so they say to never do the loop on a schedule. And we were fairly loose in the schedule, but there were times that I had to go to work. And so, you know, people who are doing this as retirees have a distinct advantage of being able to wait out weather as long as they need to. Or if they see a spot they want to hang out longer, they can just stay until, you know, they're tired of it. So we did have to be at certain places at certain times. If nothing else, a place where we can stop for 2 or 3 weeks while I go to work. And that was a pretty big concern of mine throughout the trip, was just being sure that I can leave the boat and the girls somewhere that's safe and be certain that they'll be all right while I'm gone and be able to handle everything that needs to be handled. So that was my big concern. Greatest reward? I think there's just a few moments along the way where you get kind of this reality check of this little 35-foot boat has taken you all the way, and so the YouTube channel's not there yet, but we make it to the Florida Keys, we make it to New York City, and there's a handful of places in between where you're just like, wow, we've come a long way. I never thought I'd see these things by our boat, having started in St. Paul, and that was extremely rewarding to hit these major checkpoints and kind of get a scope of what it is you've accomplished.
It feels like a major accomplishment. I know quite a few people do the loop, but it's not a huge amount. Not everybody. I had to explain what the Great Loop was to so many of my friends and family because they'd never heard of it. And once they knew what it was, they were like, whoa, that's a long ways. It is a long ways. So right. I feel a great sense of accomplishment having done what we've done, and we did it all on our own. And thank you for the questions.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you guys for the questions. 6,000 plus subscribers now. So thank you guys for taking such interest in our videos and what we're doing. As I said, when I did the call out for these questions, we are heading back out to the boat in a couple weeks here. So things are probably going to slow down in terms of video posts. But if you want to check out our Instagram, we'll do our best to keep that fairly up to date. And if you happen to be cruising around Canada, make sure to say hi if you see us. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you in the next one.